All right, good afternoon from Tallahassee, Florida. It's been a while. So today I want to talk about a very important topic, which surprisingly I've been getting questions from people on Twitter from different places, those who have gained admission from different schools, and they are wondering what is the next step. So of course, that video is for those in that category. This video is for those in that category. Of course, I will answer a few questions after these two. Of course, there will be many people who will also be in that category later. So even if you've not gotten any admission yet, you should listen to this too, because this will be very, very important to you. I will also talk about funding, how to go about funding things, because that's one of the questions people keep asking. I've been given admission by the school. What is the next thing? What should I do? Okay, so that's the question people have been asking. Now, the first thing, once the school gives you an admission letter, tells you, oh, congratulations, Mr. Oribo Muje, you've been admitted for a PhD in social studies, blah, blah, at Pennsylvania A&M University, blah, blah, and blah. The next thing they will probably do, or they most likely will do, if you have funding, they'll most likely send another letter that comes with the funding letter, another email that comes with the funding letter. Sometimes it may be that single email that they will just send. But for those that it's not just that single email, sometimes if they does not come with the first email, they send a second email within same week telling you, okay, you've been given this scholarship, so scholarship and the likes, and then this is what you should do. Okay, so after that, the next thing you most likely will get will be a letter, another email from the international office or whatever they call it in your school, telling you to fill something called a certificate of financial responsibility. Okay, now basically what they want to do is to be able to say, okay, where is the money you are going to study coming from? So you have to fill the form. If they have not granted you scholarship, assistantship, whatever, you will have to fill in that form where you expect to get the money, where you will have to attach statement of accounts and all those things sent to them and the likes. Now, if the funding is coming from, let's say, department, you've received a letter from the department. Okay, what you just do is just attach that letter of funding which you have received from your department, attach it to the certificate and to the to the email you are sending back to them. Fill all the details in the certificate of financial responsibility, because they need these details to be able to print your I20. Okay, now in your I20, that is the document that tells you what program you've been, what do you call it now? You've been admitted for. It tells you the duration from what date to what date. It tells you 5 years. It has some code. It's a Department of Homeland Security document, so to speak. So it's like a document that shows that you are admissible into the United States legally. So those documents, gotten there's a collaboration between the schools and Department of Homeland Security to be able to create and generate those documents for you. Okay, so in your I-20, you will also have the cost, the expenses of your studies. Okay, remember, to have how long it will take. Then in it, you have the expenses, how much will you spend, how much is tuition, how much is living expenses, how much is whatsoever. And in also in that I-20, it will have a category or a part for how you expect to cater for that expenses, where the money is coming from, where the funding is coming from. So for if you have received scholarship, for example, assistantship, many times it will just put on the other parts, it's like a balance sheet, income and expenses or something like that. So on that other part showing what you have, it will just write either scholarship, they write scholarship, sometimes they write assistantship, sometimes they write funding from XYZ. If it's something that you are using your own account statement or someone's account statement, depending on how it is written, or you give them, or depending on the name you give to them, they may put name of the person, they may put family income, they may put all those things. So the first thing you should note is that once you get that letter from your school saying, oh, you've been admitted either from graduate school, your department, the next thing you want is your I-20. Okay, and for your I-20, you will need to fill the certificate of financial responsibility, okay, which can be it's just to report income, to say to report where the funding will be coming from. So which can be from you or from department, wherever, assistantship, whatever. So after you have gotten your I-20, the next thing you have to do is to start preparing for visa interview. But you don't just appear at the embassy and just say, oh, I'm here. The next thing you simply do is to look for a way to pay what we call the service fee. Okay, so service fee is something to register you into the country, into the system in the country. Everyone who is coming as a student in the United States must pay service fee. They must be in the system. Okay, so it links you to your school. So the Department of Homeland Security and USCIS, probably USCIS is United States citizenship, USC citizenship, blah blah blah. It's for citizenship and things related to that. Okay, so and of course, Department of Homeland Security, they monitor those who come in, go out of the United States, something like that. That's more like the border protection part of border protection agency, sort of. So once you are able to fill the service, you pay for the service fee, it takes your record into the system and links you to that particular school because it will be linked to your I-20. You will use your I-20. There's a number on your I-20 which you will use when you are paying for the service fee. And of course, okay, let me not go into this yet, but I've seen people who have been defrauded in this. Like some agents will tell them, oh, they have paid the service fee for them, and then someone recently I was entering a service number in the service website, and I mean I was entering the I-20, the number from the I-20 in the service number. I mean it's service number, so I was entering in the service website, and it was not bringing any record for the person. And then this agent said, "Oh, we've paid for you," blah blah blah. So things like that happen. So, but you want to make sure that your record is there, because if your record is not there and you go to the embassy to say you want to do interview, they will simply tell you they have no record of you paying the service fee. Okay. And at the embassy, you must make sure you pay the service fee at least 3 days before you go for the interview. That is when they'll be able to find it in their own records too. So you pay service fee, your record is taken into the system, and then it's linked to that particular school. They will always know the school you are linked to. Okay. And that's I think $350 currently. I mean, you spend some money this time around. I think that's around $350. After you have done that, you also want to fill what we call the DS160 form. So the DS160 form is in preparation for your visa application at the embassy. So the S160 form is just a form where you fill a lot of things, a lot of details, so many questions. I think I made a video on questions you will see on the S160 form. They will ask the purpose of your visit, what category of visa are you going for, how long are you going to spend. Of course, that answer is in your I-20, so you look at your I-20, fill whatever you have seen there. What are you going for? Which school? Which course of study? They will ask about your background, what you have done in the past. They will ask about your life, basically what you are going to do, how long you are spending, who you are you staying with there, what address, blah blah blah. You fill everything in. Okay, now after you have filled it in, there are also other questions about terrorism. Have you been part of this before? Have you handled firearms? Have you handled this and that? A lot of questions. Okay, in fact, there's a part of it that also asks about your social media handle. That's why it's important what you post on social media too. So they ask all those questions. Once you have filled that, you submit it. Then the next thing is to be able to book appointment. Now, the order is not very, it doesn't have to be in the same order which I've mentioned, but one thing you just want to make sure is that you pay your service fee at least 3 days or 4 or 5 days before your interview date. Okay, so you choose, there's a separate website to where you go and then book for your visa interview. Okay, you pay visa fee and then you book the interview. So visa fee in Nigeria currently I think is at $185 if I'm correct. And then on the website where you book for your where you book the interview date, now it's been very difficult for people to find dates in Nigeria now. That's very understandable. But of course, the embassy, I think sometimes they give some preference to students, okay, so that they can find dates to be able to schedule their interview. So while you are booking the interview, there's an option there. There's a place there where you can link your DS160 form to that particular interview you are going for. Okay, so there's a place where you can link it. You just have to put the number. There's a special application ID or application number where you just put in, which is unique to each DS160 form. Now, sometimes people make mistakes in DS160 form because once you submit it, you cannot edit it. Okay, so what I advise people when there's a mistake, something like that, or they have to change something, they realize, oh, I chose something wrong. For example, they say, how long will you spend? And then you wrote 2 weeks mistakenly instead of saying, oh, 2 years or whatever, and depending on what category you're asking for. And you want to change it, what I advise people is just fill a new DS160 form, then go to your profile where you schedule the interview. You will have a profile which has been created for you, and then change the number there to the new DS160 which you have just filled. It will reverse everything and just it will link the application with the new DS160 form which you have filled. So after doing that, you try to schedule your interview. These days, it's becoming very difficult for people to find dates. So many times you will have to either send message to the embassy. There's an option there where you can send message and you upload your necessary documents. So what documents do you want to upload? You want to upload your I20, you want to upload your service, your proof of payment for service fee. Okay, your proof of payment of the service fee, and then you probably want to upload one or two other documents that shows that you are genuine, your passport, just to show who you are. Of course, and once the date is um, for your interview has been confirmed, next thing you want to do, of course, wait for that date, prepare for your interview, do all those things we've been talking about. If you go through this channel, I spoke a lot about things you can do, how to prepare, questions to expect, and the likes. Prepare, then go for your interview. Okay, but remember, it must go through those stages. So those are the things you do. So if you have been asking that question, what's the next thing? What should I do? Once the school grants you that admission, the next thing is you want your I20. Okay, I've explained what I20 means. You want your I20, and then you, of course, you provide certificate of financial responsibility. You fill the form, which can be your account statement, someone's account statement, your from your department, a letter from department showing you have funding and the likes. Once you get your I20, next thing to do, you want to start preparing for your visa interview, or you want to start registering. You want to either start, you can go and make the payment. Okay, you want to start filling DS160 form, make payment for the visa fee, make the payment for the visa fee, start applying on the website, create a profile, to start looking for a date. And of course, you want to make sure you also pay your service fee. You will not be interviewed if you don't pay your service fee. I know someone who fell into that situation recently, and then the person was not interviewed. The person went inside and they did not allow the person. Okay, someone said that they've paid the fee for her, but it was not reflecting on the system. Okay, so you want to make sure that when you are trying to pay for your visa interview, you don't fall into the hands of wrong people. Because the tricky thing is, from Nigeria, you cannot pay for the service fee. You cannot pay for the service fee from Nigeria. That's a problem. So you have to rely many times on those who do it as business to help people to pay, or if you know people outside the country, you send the equivalents to them and then they pay for you. I mean, I've helped quite a number of people to pay, but many times I'm busy and I'm not able to respond to a lot of people. But I've helped some people to pay, just to help people to pay, and then they just to help people, basically, because someone helped me when I was trying to pay mine too. So because of that, you need someone, because it's not readily available in Nigeria. They will say, oh, Western Union is an option. But when you go to the Western Union option in Nigeria, you see that you are not able to do it. So you rely on someone outside the country. For the visa fee, you can always pay at GTB Bank. There's a relationship between the US Embassy and GTB Bank. So you can always pay there. They have a specified exchange rate which they use at the point it was very cheap at the point. All you have to pay just recently was less than 100,000, maybe like 60, 57, 60 something thousand. At the point it increased to maybe 80 something thousand. Now it's a lot of money because the exchange rate has gone up and they always update their rate. So on the US website too, US in Nigeria or something like that, they usually have the exchange rate that they use currently. In fact, let me see what they currently use. So Rita, you're asking how can we know the right website to pay for the service? Okay, so it is not service fee, it is service. SEVIS. Okay, so it is not service but service, and that's what I just explained, that you are not paying online. You're not paying online. You have to pay. You have to get someone to help you to pay majorly. They always say that you can do it from what do you call it now, from Western Union, but from what we have seen in Nigeria, it's people are finding it difficult to pay. Okay, so if you just type service fee payment on your website on online, you will see their website there. So you can print a form there. That's like a what do we call this now? Like invoice or something. Now I'm on the website currently. Service fee. That's on the Department of Homeland Security. Just if you just type Department of Homeland Security and type service fee, okay, it will take you to that link straight away. So they call it I-901 fee. So if you click the option of pay I-901 fee, it will take you to where you'll be able to put your service ID. You'll find your service ID on your i20. Okay, you find your service ID on your i20. So just input the service ID, input your name, your surname, given name, date of birth. Once you do it, it will generate that document for you. That document is what you will give the person who wants to pay for you. Okay, so once you give the person the document, they're able to generate the person wherever the person takes it to. They'll be able to make the payment. Okay, it's wire transfer and all those things. And then once the person pays for you, you can always go back to the website, the service website, not service. It's SEVIS. You can always go to the website and check your I-901 status. So you can always check, has this person paid for me or not? So I'm on the website currently and I'm looking at some of these things. So for dependents, you don't have to pay for dependents. If let's say you and your husband or you and your wife are going, only the person on F1 has to pay. The person on F2 does not need to pay. Okay, the person on F2 is covered by the person on F1, basically. Okay, so once you do all those things, you're able to generate a new receipt to be given to you, which shows that you have actually paid. That is a proof of payment you take to the embassy, which shows that you have actually paid. And they can also confirm on their own website from their own site to see that you have actually paid. All right. Diallo, you're asking, hello, bro. I just got an internship admission at Michigan State University. Can I fill the I-20 with the passport that will expire in 2 years? In 4 months, rather. Your passports will expire in 4 months. Yes, and you sort of can, in a way, if you will be able to make an interview at the embassy before it expires. Because that's the thing, you will need an unexpired passport when you go to the embassy for your interview. And then you well, I think you can still use it and then use your new passport when it arrives at the embassy. So you just take the two together, you combine it together. You always take the expired and the new passport together. So yes, to get your I-20, you can use this current passport, I believe, yes. Then once you get your new passport, you start taking the two along together. And then of course the school too, you may have to update them with the new passport. Yeah, I don't think you should have a problem. I don't think you should have a problem. So Rita, I want to believe I answered your question too. The website for the service fee is the Department of Homeland Security. Just type it on Google, Department of Homeland Security service fee payment, SEVIS payment. Okay, so once you click it, you take you to their website. You print what you need to print from that website. The person who is paying for you takes that and then take it for those merchants, those who deal with the payment. There is Western Union. Yeah, and anywhere in the US, there is Western Union. People go to different places and they can make that payment for you. Okay. Yeah, it's a problem that we are not able to pay from Nigeria. I experienced that problem too. I think at the point when I was in Nigeria, people were going to either Benin Republic or some places to make payments. But yeah, it's quite difficult. All right. So among me, you're asking, does having a graduate assistantship for masters in any way increase one's chance of getting a visa? Yeah, among me, I believe so. I believe so. I believe so. I believe yes. It's sure as a positive effect because one of the things the VO want to see is that you have funding, you can take care of yourself while you are studying. The VO want to be sure that you will not be stranded in the United States. And one of the problems the VOs have with people generally is the fact that they are not able to prove how they will take care of themselves. They are not able to prove that they have money to cover their studies. Okay. So when they see people with statement of account, if it's not a direct relative, it's not your account, not a direct relative, not a father, not mother, if it becomes something like uncle of brother of uncle somewhere, it becomes difficult to prove for the VO to just accept it at face value. So they many times when they see people who have funding, it's a way of saying, oh, this funding is sure. It's guaranteed, at least to a large extent, that this person has a way of covering the costs of the study. So yes, I always advise people to try and have graduate assistantship, some sort of funding. I always advise people. It's very important. It's very important. All right, Diallo, you're saying, okay, it's better you wait for new passport as you renew. Yeah, 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 that's an option too. That's an option. It's just that sometimes you need the way visa things go. If your passport is getting delayed, you want to start doing some things before um before things get too late. But that's fine too. It's an option. You can always wait. It's just 1 week and then you'll be able to start your processing. All right. If anyone has questions, let me take a few more questions before I leave. It doesn't have to be related to this, but for those who are just joining in, let me just make a quick recap. First thing, once you receive admission letter that you've been admitted, either with funding or not, the next thing you want from your school is your I-20. Once you get your I-20, you want to be able to pay your service fee. You pay your service fee, you want to fill your DS160 form so you can start your visa processing. Once you fill your DS160 form, you you create a profile on the US website too, US and Nigeria website, and then you try to apply for interview dates. You try to apply for interview, you get a date, you search for a date. And then once you do that, you link your profile with the DS160 form, which you have filled. So once you link the DS160 form with the profile which you have filled and your service fee is active, just wait for the interview day and then you go and then get interviewed. And once you get your visa, next thing, okay, let me talk about that too, because some people get surprised at the embassy when the VO collects their passport and the VO is not giving it back to them. If the VO collects your passport and the VO is not giving it back to you, that is good news. Okay. But if the VO collects your passport or it does not even collect it at all, that's not good news. So what you want is the VO collects your passport and then retains it and asks you to check back at some specific location which you have mentioned after some days. That means the VO, they want to give you the visa and then they want to place your visa in your passport. So once you get your passports back, start booking your flights and then be ready to come to the United States. All right, so that's the process. That's how it should go. All right, John, you asked a question, you retracted it. Okay, um, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. If you want to retrick it, you may send it back. I might be able to quickly answer that question. Okay, let me write service for someone who think service fee is what I mentioned. SEVIS, SEVIS, service fee. That is it. All right, John, what soft skills can I learn to increase my chances of funding apart from TOEFL and GRE? It depends on your field, John. It depends on your field. Okay, so if you are in the STEM field, for example, you want to have an understanding of some programming languages because almost everywhere, we use it almost everywhere now. Anywhere that has to do with data collection, data manipulation, we use programming language, visualization of data, Instagram as histogram or in bar chart, pie chart, whatever. We use all these things now. So these are some of the things you may want to learn. And then think about your field. What are the things that they use in your field too? Okay, what are the things they use in your field? What are the equipment they use in your field? Or what are the softwares they use in your field? That's the word. What are the softwares? Learn those things. It helps, it increases your chances too. It increases your chances. You want to learn simulating too, if that's some of the things that they do in your field. Simulating will, I mean, it's these are being used everywhere now. Everywhere. You see people simulating everywhere. Even in biology, they are simulating how cells will react to certain chemicals, this and that. Just simulations, basically. So that's what you want to do, John. All right, Michael, how does one sort out accommodation either off campus or in campus from Nigeria? Oh, that too, accommodation. Okay, so most of this will depend on states and, of course, town, city, how things are there because, and it will also depend on the accommodation. For many accommodation types in the US, which are students' apartment, many times they want to see proof that the person is earning some amount of money. Okay, so and if you are in Nigeria, you don't have a proof of that yet. So many times, what people do is to contact people who are here, who they know, or they contact people in the department or Nigerian community and try to contact them. And those ones can who may need roommates who already have a lease ongoing and need roommates can make a case for them. Okay, and when you arrive here, you just finish all the other processes that is needed. You just appear, show yourself to those apartments, to the management, and then maybe they take in some of your details while you are here. But the apartment will be secured already by the person who you want to be a roommate with. Okay, so that's the way it goes. And the way the apartment also goes is the many people, many young folks, many single folks, they live in rooms, shared. There's a general shared space. Many of them have separate rooms. For example, there may be a 4 by 4. When you see 4 by 4, it means 4 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms. But there is a common living room, there is a common kitchen, there's a common blah blah blah. But each student live in his or her own room. And let's say the total rent is $2,000 per month. Each student contributes $500 per month and then making $2,000 per month, which they pay to the apartment. And of course, many times the lease are individual leases, such that each student communicates with the apartment directly. So the apartment gets people into rooms, not as into house per se, not into the whole apartment per se, but into the rooms, separate rooms. Okay, so that's what the deal is for many places. So when you see advertisement online saying, "Oh, it's a 4 by 4, and then per room is 500," that means it's 4 rooms, 4 bathroom, but you have 1 room to yourself. The common area is the kitchen, is the living room, where everyone does all those things. But for some people, someone like me now who was married, I mean, I was married when I came. I can't stay in such apartments. I'm married, I have kids, so I have to look for somewhere different. So they are also 1 by 1 apartments, such that it will be just 1 room, one living room, 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, blah blah blah, and you have it all to yourself. They are usually more expensive. It can be 2 by 2, where it is 1 living room, 2 bedrooms. For example, I have 2 kids. Now you expect me uh to go for something much more bigger, not just 1 bedroom, not just so you can imagine, and you can imagine how much I'll be paying in terms of rent. So basically, there are some apartments that you can actually negotiate with from Nigeria. Okay, there are some apartments, but usually you always just have to have people to speak to you from, yeah, from the US. many times, because one of the things they would usually want to see is the proof that you can pay the rent, and they usually want what we call guarantor. Many of these apartments what we call guarantor. They want to see someone standing for you. So from Nigeria, it's usually very difficult. But if you have someone here who, for example, is living in that type of 4 by 4 bedroom, and then maybe there are three, let's say they are Nigerians, there are three, and then they need one more person. They can speak to the apartment on your behalf, and they will reserve the space for you. And once you come, you just finish the documentation. And then many times there is what the school does for those who don't have guarantors and the like. For students like us who don't have, who probably don't know anybody in the US, and then your student, someone like you, will not be able to do the be a guarantor for you. So you just pay extra, like security deposit, an extra 1 month, and all those things, just to cover for that. So that's how that usually goes. Okay, so I hope that answered your question. That's usually many people live off campus, okay, Michael. But the undergraduate most times are those you find who live on campus. Undergraduate most of the time. But for many graduate students live off campus. I've only seen one graduate student, a friend of mine is from Uganda. He was living on campus. I think he lived on campus for 1 semester. So that's possible to do from Nigeria, I think, because you are a student already. They already saw your where your money is coming from. They already know, they can reckon with your funding letter and all those things. So that's really possible from Nigeria to get accommodation camp, but it's usually very limited too. And many people don't live on campus because of restriction. There are restrictions. Students, undergraduate students, they have their own kitchen where they go to eat. Everything is prepared for them. Everything is part of their expenses, the expenses which they've paid. Okay. All right. Olu Victor, you're saying, is it the same process if one is coming with one spouse? Yes. So if you are coming with your spouse, instead of doing F1 visa interview, you will have to do F1 and F2. So you have to fill two, what do you call it now, DS160 form. So you fill for your own, you fill for your spouse, or your spouse fills his or her own. And then when you create that page for where you are searching for interview dates, you have to include dependents. So your dependent, you include the name. And then once you get a date, you have to link the two DS160 form to your own. As a principal applicant, you link your own DS160 form. For your spouse, you link your spouse's DS160 form too, so that when the viewer is seeing it, when the viewer is seeing the person that's being interviewed, they can link your what do you call it now, DS160 form to each other. So the viewer will basically see what you have filled while the viewer is asking you the questions. So yes, that's possible, Olu Victor. That's really possible. And once both of you get it, same thing. You want an accommodation where both of you can stay. You don't. I mean, I've seen those who were able to manage with other roommates in the apartment they live with their spouse. But when children comes in, it becomes more difficult. So you want a separate type of accommodation. In that sense, you want a separate type of accommodation. I hope that answered your question, Olu Victor. Okay. All right. So if there are no more questions, let me wait for 30 or so seconds. If there are no more questions, I think it would be a good time to end. But just okay. Um, Diallo, you're asking again, what do I think about MSU Michigan? As an assistantship graduate, I should be there in August teaching and studying at the same time. Oh, you live in Sprite. That's so beautiful. It's a very good school. MSU is a good school. I was there this January. I was there in January, and I'll be going there again soon for an experiment. It's a good school. It's in East Lansing, Michigan, and it snows there, so you should be expecting a good deal of snow, and it gets cold there during winter. It's still cold there currently. So as I'm preparing for my travel there now, I'm trying to pack some cool shoes and all those snow compliant shoes and jackets. So it's a very nice school. Diallo is a nice school. It's a nice school. It's a nice school. You will enjoy it. You will enjoy it. So that's fine. That's beautiful. And of course, I always have something to do with MSU in Michigan because we have this big facility there called FRIB, Facility for Radioisotope, for Radioactive Ion Beam, rather, um, at MSU. It's on the MSU campus. It's a big Department of Energy funded laboratory, nuclear physics laboratory. So it's a big thing there. So you will enjoy. It's a big school, nice school. John is saying things are looking to also, was there an added advantage in doing Nigeria when you started your PhD in terms of experience? In terms of experience, not really, honestly, not really. Those of us people who went straight from BSc to PhD, and those of us who have had MSc from Nigeria, we sort of started on the same level, on the same plane. Okay, because we still do coursework and then research. The difference is clear. Research that we do in Nigeria and the US, the difference is clear. So you sort of start on the same plane. Yeah, for some courses, you may feel the difference that, oh, I've had MSc. Some of those things may just be in terms of experience with the coursework. Okay, but when it comes to research, even someone who has done PhD elsewhere before, when it comes to research, you all still start on the same scale. You still start on the same scale to be able to learn. Even if you have your PhD in the US, if you go to another lab, you still have to learn what they are doing from the scratch too. Okay, not necessarily from the scratch if it's the same research, but if it's a different research, so to speak, a little deviation, you have to learn, basically learn like any other person. So I won't say there is no advantage in the blanket statement, but I would say not really. You probably won't feel it much. You mean if it has been this, if it's the same course that you have done before, and then you use the same textbook, then you probably would have known some things better than others. Okay, let's say in physics now you use Jackson when you were doing your MSc in Nigeria, and the professor here is using Jackson again. Then you've gone through it before, then it's familiar to you. But when it comes to something different, let's say new course, cosmology, whatever, all of you in the class are on the same plane. Okay, you are probably maybe more experienced in terms of age, things you have experienced in life generally, how you handle pressure, all those things may be the difference. When it comes to research, you are seeing all the big giant equipment for the first time. The first time I entered the facility where we have a tandem accelerator, I was just looking at the accelerator like, whoa, I've only seen things like this in movies. Here I am. And I see other students who are just BSc, who studied in the US, just talking about it, just talking. And I was looking at them like, oh, really? So, I mean, that's just it. Diallo, you are welcome. You are welcome. Amadu Diallo. So I hope you enjoy your stay in MSC. It's a very nice place. East Lansing. If you are traveling, you probably want to land at Detroit in Michigan. From Detroit, there's a bus that goes from Detroit to East Lansing every now and then. Then you can take that bus, it takes you there. You can also land in Flint, or you land in Lansing, and then you just take Uber or whatever to the school. All right, all right, all right. If there are no more questions, I think this should be a nice place to stop. Let me just make a quick recap if you are just joining. First thing, once you get your letter from the school saying you've been admitted, you want to get your I20. Okay. And for that, you need to fill certificate of financial responsibility or whatever name they call it. Once you get your I20, you want to fill DS160 form, you want to pay service fee, and then you want to apply for visa interview. And then you link your profile on the website where you're applying for the visa interview to your DS160 form. And then attend the interview. Once you're approved, get your passport back after a few days, start making travel preparation flights, and then boom, you are done. All right, thank you everyone for joining in today. So glad you were able to join in. So the short notice impromptu, that's what I do now. Thank you so much for joining in. If there's someone you think needs to see this, please share it with them. And if you have not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. Subscription encourages us to do more video, to do more live stuff like this. All right, thank you so much. God bless you real good.